to talk about Star Trek Picard?
Well, as much as we're sighing and moaning right now, it's like, oh God, we got to talk about.
We got to talk about this.
Oh, this fucking show. Oh Jesus!
Don't hold back, Matt. Tell us how you really.
There is some nonsense going on in this show.
Well, I'm kind of pissed off and salty right now because he didn't finish it.
I tried. I was watching the season finale while I was driving
30
over
minutes
here.
left, so he can't even get. He's going to get spoiled by the good stuff at the very end.
Well, did you think that at any point that it was starting out strong?
I was kind of hopeful at the first episode because there were moments in it where I was like, "This feels like the Captain Picard I grew up with."
There's little moments of that sprinkled out throughout this entire season.
Yeah.
Where you have these moments where Patrick Stewart just nails
But
Picard.
they're so fleeting because the stuff that doesn't feel like Picard is so much more prevalent.
Yeah.
But Alex, so like for the longest time, Matt and I were watching the show ahead of you because you had to watch it with your wife.
When she found out that I was watching episodes without her, she got mad at me.
So you've been kind of behind the curve on our discussion about it. So why don't you get caught up with us about what your thoughts are, and then we can start going into what we were thinking about.
Okay, well, I was dropping live comments in our direct messaging because I wanted to kind of keep track of my thoughts. But there were so many times where I was like, why is everybody so just has such disdain for Picard? Like, so often you would have these characters that would just either backtalk him or call him some kind of a fool. I mean, that one Admiral lady was like, "Shut the fuck up, Picard." I'm like,
sheer fucking hubris.
what is wrong with these people?
Admiral face.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Like, if you're given
Admiral, shut the fuck up.
Admiral, shut the fuck up. I don't understand what the reasoning behind that was. If you have somebody as iconic as Patrick Stewart coming back, probably for the last time as Picard, you don't freaking just like throw him under the bus like that. It was just so strange to hear somebody talk to Picard like and in those manners. And then the plot itself, I was like, okay, there's something there that could be really interesting. This whole discussion about AI. I mean, it's very much like Westworld, where like, you know, what kind of AI is too much? Is it too dangerous to be kept around? Is it going to become some kind of a war between AI and organic life? These are subjects that have been around in Star Trek for a long time. So the plot of this show, I don't really have a big issue with. I just wish it was flushed out a little bit more. There's a lot of questions where I'm like, why is this happening? Like, I'm to the point now where I got the freaking orchid thing in the space. I'm like, wait, what now? 7 of 9 comes in and she rescues Picard's Romulan little like foster child. Eleanor.
Foster child.
And she hooks up to the Borg cube. She's going to take over. She has this really badass moment. I love 7 of 9. I think she's probably one of my favorite characters, especially from Voyager. And I was really like, yeah, that was an awesome moment. And then it was immediately undercut by everybody just getting sucked out of the airlock. And she was like, no! And then there's just nothing she can do about it after that. And I'm like, well, why would you go through the effort and have this really cool, admittedly, a really cool moment for 7 of 9 to kind of like reconnect to the hive and become the Borg queen, sort of, kind of.
Because, you know, that's what 7 always wanted, was to be a Borg queen.
Well, no, see, right? She didn't want to do it. At first, she was like, "No, I shouldn't do this."
She wouldn't be able to unjack.
Yeah. Which was, I thought that was a really cool character moment for her because it made sense for her to be like, "I know I can do this, but if I do, I'm worried I might not want to let it go." And I mean, it was real quick and it was a real fleeting moment, and then she just kind of did it.
But there was like no ramifications for her having done that. Like next time we see her, she's just like nothing happened.
I'm good. Hey guys, here I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did have a little bit of a conversation with somebody. I think it was Picard, where she was like, yeah, I felt like connected, like I've never felt connected before or something. She said something along those lines.
But the whole thing about that episode in particular is, okay, so she's jacked into the Borg cube. She has complete control over every aspect of that thing because she's she's rejoined the collective. Yeah. And the Borg queen she is basically part of the ship. She knows she has control of every inch of that ship.
Yeah, she has eyes everywhere. Yeah.
So how are the Romulans able to open that door to suck everyone out into space without her being like, nope,
not gonna happen?
And how are they all sucked out into space without her just beaming them back on board using the teleporters from the Borg cube?
I mean, unless the teleporters are down, this thing was been at half power or no power for centuries, apparently. So, I mean, there's reasons that you could think of, but it's definitely not explained in the show.
It had trans-warp capabilities. It had the ability to, like, fire its weapons. I mean...
Did they fire any weapons?
I have so many questions about the Borg.
They didn't fire the weapons, but they were working on getting them up and running so they could protect the planet.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just... There's a lot of moments in this show that could be really good, could be really interesting to kind of follow, but there's no follow-through with it. Like, it almost feels like there's another half a season missing in between these episodes that would feel more like Star Trek. Like, hey, let's flush out this.
Yeah, that's a big part of the whole series. Is there's a lot of stuff that they do, but there's no reason for them doing it, and there's no follow through.
Yeah,
they just did things for no reason.
And there's very bad setup too, because it's like I'm still confused as to what the state of the Romulan Empire is.
Yep.
You're still talking about that.
well, I mean, again, the final episode they have this big Romulan armada of like 200 ships.
But they're small ships, aren't they?
No, they're warbirds.
They're warbirds.
I don't know. The view screen that they had, they looked like they were smaller ships.
200 warships manned by fully crewed Romulans like show up, and you're like, wait, okay. So first of all, they're talking about the treaty that they have with the Romulan Empire, but the treaty that they reference specifically creates the neutral zone. But they said the neutral zone no longer existed because the Romulan Empire collapsed. However, the Romulan Empire is still in effect to create treaties and work with the Federation on this science experiment on the relic. However, they don't have enough resources to help their refugees on these planets.
This is apparently a Tal-Shiar fleet.
Shinjan in I think that's how you say his name, right? Tom Hardy's Shinzon from Nemesis. He destroyed the Romulan Empire, or the actual like circle of leaders, right? He killed them all.
No.
Some of them.
The excuse that they gave for the collapse of the Romulan Empire was the supernova that kicked off the Star Trek 2009.
Well, what I'm saying is the state of the Empire itself, with all of its moving pieces, and the reason why it might not be quite as powerful as it once was, is because Shinzon killed a lot of the leaders.
But that was like 20 years before this movie started.
That's true.
Okay, or this series started, and basically at the start of the show, like the whole thing where Picard is trying to lead the rescue operation for the supernova, and the whole thing with the Mars shipyards getting attacked and stuff like that. Like, that happens 14 years before the events of this series. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, the Romulan Empire is still kicking around, and yet this secret faction, the Zhat Vash, within the Romulan Empire, that is so worried about synthetics destroying all human life or all organic life, decides to wait for the moment where all their own people are in need of help the most to, attack these synthetics, so that basically they ruin their own rescue operation and doom millions of their people to not only dying in the supernova because they can't be evacuated in time, but also living on these shitty refugee worlds, abandoned by their government. And you're just wondering, like, well, couldn't they have waited until after the rescue operation to blame the synthetics for some type of crime?
Yeah, the setup for the show is a little awkward for sure.
Little
awkward. I'm trying to be nice.
Awkward.
It's
quit being nice.
Just kind of like,
you don't have to be nice.
It's pieced together just so that we can have a show. And
it's terrible.
I get like, oh, we have these pieces, we have this AI, we can use data because data is a huge part of Picard's life. There's a couple parts that you were talking about last week that you said you felt like Picard was so cold towards the people that love him the most. And I'm like, that kind of, in my opinion, that kind of feels more in character with Picard. Picard's always been pretty standoffish.
Picard's he doesn't like kids. He's uptight. He's very standoffish. So, he doesn't like, especially like in like first season. He's a dick.
Yeah,
he's kind of a jerk,
especially to Wesley.
Yeah. So I don't like kids.
Yeah,
get that child off my bridge.
So I see that aspect of his character in this show, and I know you were kind of complaining about it last week about him and his relationship with the Romulan kid, how he kind of just shoved him off to the side. But I'm like, that kind of leans into his character in the past, but you can tell that he's trying to work past it because he does actually tell Raffi, "Oh, I love you too, Raffi." Like, he's kind of breaking those walls down a little bit. I don't really give a crap who Raffi is. I've never heard of her before. It should have been somebody from Next Generation.
You have to read the comic book.
Yeah, someone who didn't call him JL.
Oh god, that's so super annoying too.
So my biggest problem with Picard in his own series, he's like one of the most passive characters. He doesn't really do anything. Every time he tries to do something, someone says no and just stops him. And so, like, he's a passive character in his own series, and all the other characters are the ones doing the stuff that he should be kind of in charge of doing. And it makes it for a very boring and disjointed series. The only time he actually does anything is in the finale.
He gets pushed to the side a lot, which did irritate me. I was watching one of the episodes where they were getting ready to take off in the ship, and I think I texted you guys. You laughed at it, but I was like, Picard has this take charge moment where the Next Generation theme song kind of like swells up, and you're like, oh yeah, Picard's back. He's going to go, he's going to get on his mission. He had just said a line, which I thought was awesome. He was like, I have a mission now, which he's been talking about in this whole show, that like my life has been kind of wasted ever since I retired. I've been just kind of like mulling around, not doing anything. Now I have a mission, and nobody can stop me once I have a mission. I was like, yeah, that's freaking Picard. I love that moment. And then it's immediately undercut by him sitting in the captain's chair and like bringing up the holodeck and then going, actually, I don't know how to use this. Like, why would you undercut that great moment and like subvert all of our expectations with all this cool music flowing and got all this really cool setup? You're waiting for Picard to do something awesome, and then they just like, no, he doesn't know how to do it because he's old. It's like old joke after old joke after old joke with this show, and it just kills me to see Picard.
I think it's funny that scene bugged you as much as it did.
It irritated me.
That's like the least amount of things that I had a problem with in the entire show.
I don't know. It's fresh in my mind. I think that's
that one resonates with me because I have to have my kids set up my phone when I get a new phone. So I completely understand.
There was a scene earlier in the season where Picard kind of like sits in the captain's chair on Rios' ship, and he starts giving orders, and then he realizes that he's not the captain, and he's just like, oh, sorry, and he gets out of the captain's chair and lets Rios kind of take over, and then Rios literally just says everything Picard said, and that's the biggest problem with this series, is that when you have a main character that a series is based around or a story is based around,
they have to be the one calling the shots.
They have to be the one in charge.
And that's the same problem Discovery had too.
I was just about to say that the problem with Discovery was that there wasn't a strong captain in charge. Both seasons, it was always Michael Burnham who was kind of calling the shots, and the captain would follow her lead. When like if that was the situation, she should have just been the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
And I feel like Jean-Luc Picard, the character, would have been like, I'm going to get my own ship. I'm going to get my own crew. I'm going to go off on this mission. I'm going to do what needs to be done. And instead, the entire time, he's riding shotgun with all these other characters who are nowhere near as interesting as any of the next-gen characters.
A bunch of derelicts and cast-offs.
I do kind of like... No, I don't like Rios. I like his holograms more than I like him. His holograms are kind of funny. They make me laugh. They're interesting. I like they all have different accents, and I like the reveal that like, why are you all made after his image? He's like, oh, that's just the default setting for the computer. So they just mimicked him. And I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, all right, that's cool. And then the actor himself doing all those different characters and all the accents and stuff, props to him for being able to do that. That's pretty cool too. But like Rios as a character, all these characters are so deeply flawed that it kind of irritates me, because I'm so used to the Next Generation characters who had their flaws, but they were upstanding people and people that you could kind of like look at as someone that you would want to emulate.
Well, you don't have to have a bunch of different characters with their own flaws when you can just have one character who just has his personality split up into the different holograms, and they all have their own flaws themselves. So
the worst character in this entire show is Dr. Jarate.
The blonde chick?
Yeah, the drummer from Scott Pilgrim.
The murderess.
So like, first of all, she's supposed to be this brilliant cyberneticist, but she doesn't know how to work a common teleporter on the ship.
She's terrified of space travel.
She's terrified of not only space travel, but holograms. Remember when the hologram was beating her up and she was like, no, stop, please. She throws up so much in this series.
Oh my gosh, she does, doesn't she?
She does. I think we've seen more vomit in Star Trek Picard than any other show I've ever witnessed.
Bizarre.
And it's weird vomit. Like she's throwing up red bile and
it was red velvet from
red velvet bile
because she ate 4 pieces of cake.
Yeah. And
God, you rolled your eyes so hard when I said that.
And so, but she also kills a man that she supposedly loves. And then she says, I must pay for this. And then she never pays for it. And by the end of the season finale, she's dating Rios, and it's like, oh, they totally forgot that she murdered someone and should be held accountable.
Yeah, she murdered the love of her life 30 minutes ago, and now she's in the sack with this crazy captain.
Did that kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Like there was no setup whatsoever
that's
for
what
Rios
the show's
and her.
good at. This whole show.
Well, no, I get it, but I'm like, I'm just. Did I miss something? Because that whole love story.
No, you
thing,
didn't miss anything.
Like it was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, Rios comes in and talks to her once they get onto the AI planet. He just like starts giving her the love eyes, and I'm like, what is going on here? I don't remember.
Seven and Raffi.
Oh yeah, the very last scene of the show is they're all flying off into space on their little merry way. Raffi and Seven are sitting at the table,
and
holding
they're now
each other's hands.
They're
like
now in a
together.
lesbian relationship.
Yeah, so now Seven and Raffi are together with no context, no setup, nothing. It is just,
never gave any indication that Raffi swung that way.
Raffi and her
literally, it's like, oh, here's your LGBT moment,
they
everybody.
Didn't even know each other,
your
did they?
No,
they had no idea who each other was,
and there were literally no scenes of them interacting.
None at all.
Yeah, that was the first time they. That's the same thing with Rios and the blonde chick.
Yeah.
It was like they talked a little bit, but it was always Captain.
Well, but the thing is at least they had that. Jarate and Rios had that scene where Jarate was kind of distraught over having murdered her last lover, and so like she hooks up with him, and so like there was like some basis for them to have a relationship going forward.
I guess.
But Raffi and Seven was just literally tacked on at the end out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
I don't like Raffi. She's probably my least favorite.
Yeah,
character.
Raffi's terrible.
One, because she comes out of nowhere. She has no context to be that close to Picard that we've ever seen. Definitely should have been somebody that he's had a relationship with.
You got to read the comic book.
I don't give a shit about your stupid comic book.
Well, you got to read the comic book.
but also like Raffi is bitter that she's like stuck in this basically what amounts to a trailer in the middle of the desert. And she has this class envy over Picard, and he's like in your chateau with your antique furniture and stuff like that. And it's like, you have replication technology. You could literally live anywhere in as big of a place as you wanted with as many as nice a furniture as you could replicate.
You can't, because she's a drug addict who left her child, abandoned her child. That's who the character is. That's what I took away from her.
Who apparently likes X-drones, so that's fine.
That's super weird because oh man,
and is an alcoholic. Crazy. Oh yeah, I liked how she's a drug addict and an alcoholic, and she tells the replicator, "Hey, don't give me alcohol," and then she totally forgets, and so like she starts trying to get alcohol so she can like have another binge moment.
Pretty sure the writer forgot to.
Yeah, yeah. It like the story for this show is just so disjointed because it feels like, number one, they had to do a lot of reshoots on the show. And it feels like they had to cobble together certain storylines from stuff that got cut out. Mm-hmm. And none of it made any real sense. Like there's a scene in the final episode where Riker shows up with the cavalry to kind of save the day. And he has this great standoff with Commodore O,
who's on leave from Starfleet security.
Who's on
right
leave
now.
from Star, and somehow Riker knows who she is and knows like what she's been up to, even though like he literally like 30 minutes ago was like, put me back in command of Starfleet's biggest fleet, and Starfleet was like, okay.
I need 200 of these state-of-the-art ships that we don't know how they got built because all the synths got destroyed in Mars a couple years ago,
and how they got to this
14
planet
years ago,
and how they got to this planet that you can only get to with a transwarp conduit because it's so far away. Within the span of like a day. But so like he shows up and he has this great kind of heroic standoff with
very, very Picard or very Riker.
Very Riker. But like I was like, that should have been Picard's moment. That should have been like Picard leading that fleet to like, save the day. And that was also my problem with Nefene, the episode 8, I believe it was, where he goes and visits Riker and Troy on that planet. Mm-hmm. Is that everything that Jonathan Frakes says to Picard in that episode felt like it should have been Picard saying to number one. Yeah. Like he felt like the elder. He felt like the guy who had things figured out. He felt like the guy in charge, and Picard was just kind of like his bitch boy. That episode,
was, like, I think out of all of them, felt the most like Picard was a senile old man.
Well, yeah.
Out of all of them, because
I felt like he was a senile old man through the entire series, but
no, I'm saying that might be true. I'm just saying for me that particular episode it was very evident because they were the way they were talking to him.
They were very condescending.
Very condescending. Yeah. And then that one moment where
it's like listening to the old dude.
Picard made like a bad joke to the android girl. What's her name again?
Soji.
And what did he say? Like, oh, you are going to kill us all or something? It's like he made like a terrible, terrible joke. And like Deanna Troi just completely obliterates him after, you're being an asshole. I'm like, why would Picard say something like that?
Yeah. Well, every show he's an asshole. Remember the episode where he like specifically picked a fight with like all those Romulans? And like gets in a sword fight and then gets pissed at Eleanor for saving him by killing that one Romulan
guy's head off. Yeah. How dare you do that? Like, what do you expect me to do?
and then like he's like, no more killing anyone unless I tell you. And then like every time Eleanor like gets involved, he's like killing people, and Picard's like fine with it. It's just like,
what was the point of Eleanor again?
I don't know.
I don't get that character. He's a sidekick, he's on the ship when they leave, I guess. Ooh, here's Eleanor, I got my hired sword guy.
The most interesting thing about Eleanor was like the total candor thing, where like he's supposed to be someone who like can only speak the truth. Yeah. And so when you have a character who has no filter like that, and he's always saying what he thinks, you have a great playground to play with that character to make him kind of like interesting and funny and kind of like blunt and in your face. So they could have done a lot with that character that they just didn't do. Instead, they kind of played him as the scared child who had daddy issues with Picard. And there was so much that he did in the Borg cube that didn't make any sense. Like remember when they were like executing the XBs and they had Hugh captive? It was like, where was Eleanor? He stayed behind to cover their escape with Hugh.
Yeah.
Why would he let Hugh get captured?
I did notice that. And like he just straight up disappeared, and he showed up later.
The thing about this series is there's going to be so many questions generated about stuff from every episode. We could probably dedicate a daily podcast to it that would last over a year.
Probably.
For easy. It was just so poorly.
And talking about
done.
Hugh, what a meaningless death
what a waste of a character that was, right?
Like, why you bring this like classic, next generation character back and this big reveal? Oh my gosh, it's Hugh, and he gives Picard a big old hug, and then in half an hour he's dead.
We can't even talk about the really crazy shit because you haven't seen it yet. There's an alternate dimension with giant space eels, mechano space eels that are going to come and destroy all the universe.
Like Thanos with his army?
Yeah. I'm not joking.
So the big MacGuffin in the finale is that they're building this beacon to signal to the advanced synth race that they need them to come wipe out organics.
And this has happened before, right? That's why the Romulans, like they saw this happen once before, and it's been just foretold.
So what this beacon does is it actually opens a portal way up in space, and we see this advanced civilization in the form of these like robotic eels,
these
that
massively
kind of like
giant mechano
tentacles that kind of start peeking out of this portal, and they close down the portal just in time because like the eels kind of like retract.
Did you ever see Hellboy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. That's freaking Hellboy.
Same shit, same thing.
Yeah.
But
the thing is like, okay, even if the eels can't come in through that portal, they now know that they've been signaled. So what what implication does that have for the universe?
They're going to find a way, I guess, right? They're going to make their way there.
Yeah, and it's like a whole thing where you can kind of see where they're going with it, where like this advanced synth race is actually control. And you notice
they didn't actually destroy the beacon that they built.
Yeah.
But
it's still sitting down there.
If it's
what?
I'm trying to piece this bullshit all together, but Control is a prequel.
Control? This isn't Control.
It could be, though.
It has nothing to do with Control.
Yeah, I don't think it does, because Control was from Discovery timeline.
Control was built by the Federation.
But if you look at those tentacles...
Section 31, right? Yeah.
If you look at those tentacles, well, Control was taken over by that AI that Discovery ran into.
Control is an out of control artificial intelligence, like on Westworld. This is a eons, hundreds of thousands of years old mechanical sentient race that comes through and destroys everything.
But the futuristic version of Control that Discovery was fighting against was so advanced that it went back in time to take over Control I don't know. It's confusing.
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
I don't know either. I don't think anybody was time traveling, were they?
No, the only time traveling done was they just went 920 years in the future.
I feel like they keep trying to recycle this same old AI trick.
It's so fucking bad we can't even keep track of it for a podcast.
But you know the worst thing about the finale of Picard was the magical bullshit device.
Oh yeah,
where basically it's this handheld.
Oh, the fix-it.
Yeah, it's this handheld
the sonic
replicator.
Screwdriver?
Yeah, it's this handheld replicator.
The leather man
that allows you to manifest anything you can think of, and you're just like, wait a minute, what?
She uses use your imagination. Does she use it?
She does use it.
Yeah.
Okay. In the most ridiculous way possible. But
Green Lantern bad?
But it's literally like they use this technology to create this beacon. And you're just like, if you can literally create anything you can think of out of this like one little handheld device, like the possibilities for that are freaking endless. Like it's literally the Deus Ex Machina that, never stopped.
It's the ultimate
Deus Ex
MacGuffin,
Machina.
for sure.
Yeah.
And then
at least with, like Q was kind of that, except you had to like play to his whims to get him to do stuff for you. But he was. I mean, at the end of the day, he could snap his fingers and anything could happen.
But this is far worse because it's a piece of technology that like anyone can possess.
Yeah.
And also weird. Narek, the Romulan guy.
What happened to him?
So like he teams up.
The boyfriend?
He teams up with Rafi and Rios to try to stop them from activating this beacon. And the last time we see him, he's being pinned to the floor by these synthetics, and he's begging Soji not to activate the beacon.
Yeah, that's on my list.
And that's
here.
the last time we see him. Like there is no resolution for him at all in the show. It's like they totally forgot about his character.
He's dead.
He's not dead.
They didn't kill him.
They killed him off screen.
Coming back in season 2, Narek.
They killed him off screen.
No, they didn't.
I'm speculating.
It's right here on my notes. What happened to Narek? I wrote notes for this. It's ridiculous.
What are your
more
notes?
than I did. I didn't even watch the show.
We've covered a lot of them. Let's see. Space Robot Cthulhu. Magic Hand Tool MacGuffin. We just did that. Why kill Data? Make him a hologram. Put him in a new body. His entire consciousness was there. Why would they want to die?
Yeah, Data literally said, "Kill me now.
Yeah, it's like,
please kill me."
Makes no sense to Data's. See, he doesn't know what we're talking about right now because he hasn't seen the last 30 minutes of.
Well, Brent Spiner was there.
No.
Also,
Data.
AI Soong's change of heart was kind of abrupt as well. The minute he finds out that that Tantra Sutra killed that other AI or synthetic, I should say.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, now I'm siding with your organics.
Somehow,
because he was super pro AI.
Somehow there's a thing in the compound has this 3 chips. It's Data. His entire existence are in these.
Is in 3 chips.
It's in these 3.
Mm-hmm. His positronic brain.
Yes. All his memories everything is in there.
Where'd they get it from?
From a single positronic neuron in the quantum realm.
This is what they use to program all the multiple whatever.
All the other datalets.
All the
datalings.
Yeah, datalings. But after Picard dies, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Picard dies, and
saw that coming.
And they put his consciousness, I guess, into some other chips or some shit, right? I don't know how they did that. And him and Data have a long conversation.
They put him in an incredibly complex quantum simulation.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, we Trek nerded that up really hard.
So basically, in the finale of Picard, they conquer death. They figure out a way to preserve a human's consciousness after death.
It's full on altered carbon.
And then
I'm like, this is altered carbon.
Put him in a synthetic body. But here's the funny thing. And I wish I could see your face when you would actually see this in the show, but I'm just going to spoil it for you anyway. So they recreate Picard's body, not as a younger, upgraded version, as the exact same old man version that he just died in. And they're like, yeah, you've got like a good 5-10 years left. Because like we've simulated your natural lifespan. And it's like, if you're going to do that, why not just let him stay dead? You've just dragged out his old manness.
They gave him the same brain disease that he had.
So they put Picard in the Golem. Yeah. The Golem now is just an exact replica of Picard without the brain thing.
Yeah.
And he's got another 4 or 5 years. So we can have seasons 2 and 3 now. But going forward, it's not Picard. It's replicant Picard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's going to be weird. He's still going to be all old and doddering and weird. And and Data's dead now because they erased his chips.
Dead. Yeah.
Oh, dead. He's gone.
But, which made no sense because they should have put Data in the golem and just or made him a hologram or something.
Or use the magic bullshit device to create a ton of golems that they could just put people's brains in.
So we've conquered death. Picard's still old. Data's dead. Yeah. Riker saved the day. There's Space Cthulhu in the alternate dimension. What else do I got on here?
Narek disappeared. Seven and Raffi are
Raffi and Seven are lesbos. Yeah. Why?
Jarate gets away with murder.
That was weird. Like I kind of get what they were trying to do, but the delivery was awful. They were basically trying to say that she had little to no control over herself because she was so distraught.
Androids can mind meld.
Oh yeah, androids can mind meld.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That was dumb as hell.
I'm sorry, but like only Vulcans and like a few subset creatures across the Delta Quadrant can like mind meld. Like Kess's race can do it, Tuvok, and there was like one or two others that they ran into that had telekinesis. Are
all the Borgs that are still in the cube with all the technicians and everybody that I'm assuming are still alive? Are they going to create a new like little city down there on the 8th planet thing?
Yeah. What happened to all the Federation scientists that were on the Borg cube, and what happened to the rest of the Romulan army that was on there?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of funny because they like crash land on the planet and the whole time they're like nobody can survive. It's such a low odds. Like we have to look, and they get there and they're all just chilling.
Yeah, they're all just there.
It's like, hey, what's up, guys?
Why did Picard have to captain pilot the ship? Where was the Hollow crew?
He didn't know how to work them.
I got orchids again? Question mark. Okay. Space scientist murderer off scot-free? Question mark.
I like how Jarate has a hard time operating the teleporter, but she knows how to work the magical bullshit device to create thousands of.
Like, you just gotta think about it, and it'll happen, right?
And like they literally have like hundreds of her head pop up around her to illustrate the point. It's the most cartoonish thing.
Can we talk about the soccer ball bomb? How dumb is that?
So, in order to try to destroy the
soccer ball bomb,
in order to try to destroy the beacon that the sensor building, they have to smuggle in an explosive device, and because Rios is Mexican, they put it inside a soccer ball.
Oh, the soccer ball that he was playing
with. And no one would ever suspect a Mexican with a soccer ball would have an explosive in there. And so like he smuggles it in, and then they like reveal that the inside of the soccer ball has this explosive in it at the worst possible time in the most unsubtle way possible. And of course they fail to blow it up. Like Soji picks up the explosive out of the soccer ball, throws it high in the air, and it explodes harmlessly, thus allowing her to activate the beacon and signal the demise of all organic life in the universe.
But that doesn't work either. Right? How do they close the portal again?
Through the power of love.
Cue Huey Lewis.
Yeah. So basically Picard, in his sacrifice to try to save the planet, he flies Rios' ship up by himself with the help.
I thought he didn't know how to fly it.
He figures it out. So he flies it up to face off with these 200 Romulan warbirds. And Soji's like, Picard, what are you doing? And this is after she's activated the beacon. And so Picard gives this big moving speech that inspires Soji to be like, okay, maybe it was wrong to try to wipe out all of humanity.
Just like that?
Just like that.
God damn this show.
And she closes the portal. And she closes the portal.
The change of heart.
Now, I will say that I thought that Picard's speech to her was probably the highlight of the series.
Okay.
Because it felt like the most Star Trek-y Picard thing.
Those are the moments. Like, there's little sprinkled in moments where, that's Picard.
But it was everything surrounding it that was terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
Oh, man. So what are we in store for season 2?
Who knows?
More bullshit.
I know Guinan's coming back.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
Basically, they set it up so, like, Picard is still alive. He's Synth Picard now. But he's still the same weird old man. And he has his crew, which consists of Rios the captain, who's now in a relationship with murderer Jarate. 7 of 9, who's now in a relationship with Raffi.
Junkie.
The
child abandoner.
Junkie child abandoner.
And 7 of his she has a substance abuse problem.
Yeah. And Eleanor's there.
He's just lost.
Just tagging along.
He has daddy issues.
The foster kid.
Daddy issues, foster kid, yeah.
And Soji. And that's his new crew.
He's not the captain, though.
Soji's the new Data.
He's technically not the captain, but he's like the guy in charge.
Well, yeah, but...
And it's not clear where they were going or what they were planning to do.
Going out and having adventures.
Yeah, they were just leaving this idealistic planet that conquered death and has bodies for everybody. And leaving it completely defenseless against the Romulans who want to come back.
Are we going to get a closer look at the origins of the Borg? Do you think they're going to go in that direction?
Who knows? God, I hope not, because I like the Borg the way they are in my head right now.
Well, I know. Yeah, the origin of the Borg.
They'll just screw them up.
It comes from the Delta Quadrant. That's already been established.
I'm sure we'll have some cameos by Michael Dorn, maybe Gates McFadden this time. We know Guinan's coming back.
Yeah.
They'll probably die.
Dr. Crusher.
So
will be back.
Yeah, they're probably going to kill off any TNG character that shows up.
Geordi maybe will show up. Seven will probably try to have a relationship with Crusher.
They may bring back.
Maybe that would be kind of cool.
They may bring back what's his name? Forget it.
All right.
We can have Wesley Crusher be the bad guy as his Traveler. The Traveler can come back and put everything back together.
They might bring back Q.
Okay, so
Q would be cool, but they fuck it up.
Yeah.
They would just screw it up. So
if there's one thing we can be sure of for a second season of Picard, it's that they will continue to screw things up.
If Guinan's in it, she hates Q, so that would be kind of a cool, one-off episode. They could have a barbecue on some backwater jungle planet, talk to each other. And,
they might continue,
hey, how's it going? Have a good time.
They might continue the whole fall of the Romulan Empire story. But that really fell flat in this episode. They might bring back Brent Spiner as AI Sung. Because now that he doesn't have to be young Data anymore, he's free to be old man.
I really want to see some Kling Orcs. That would be
Kling
cool.
Orcs?
Yeah.
It'd be funny if Worf showed up and he was looked completely different.
Oh God, I would be so mad. I would be so angry, dude.
Well, what's going to be interesting is seeing what the landscape is after season 3 of Discovery, because that happens 1,000 years in the future, and we get to see the current state of the Federation and stuff like that. And so when they come back with season 2 of Picard, it's going to be are they going to set up or lay the groundwork for what happens in season 3 of Discovery? Because that's what I actually thought they were going to do with this season of Picard, was lay the groundwork for what we're going to be seeing there. But again, that would require actual planning and thought.
Doesn't that start in a couple weeks?
And they
it does?
I think so. Season 3. I can't wait. Ooh, I'm so excited.
We get to talk about that.
But Alex, what did you think of season 1 of Picard?
Well, I'm going to watch the season finale as soon as I'm done with this podcast. I don't mind being spoiled. It's not a big deal. But there was things that I was like, man, that could be really cool if they stick the landing, and they just continually don't stick the landing for me. So that was kind of a bummer. I do like, as far as the world building goes, the new technology that they have, the ships and stuff like that. I liked all that's really cool to me. The new holographic control panels and stuff like that. I'm I really like all that stuff. I like these little tiny elements of the show that kind of build the world 15, 20 years after. You don't like those things? No. Oh, I think they're cool.
You know what's funny?
It's not Star Trek.
You know what's funny about the climax of the final season of Picard is when Commander Riker leads the new Starfleet fleet to face off with the
copy
Romulans.
and paste fleet.
Literally every ship looks alike, and you can tell that they ran out of money, so they just reused the same CG asset
the copy and paste
for the entire fleet.
And they just made it smaller to make it look like it's farther away.
well, it's just exact. Yeah, it's every ship is exactly the same.
They did the same thing with the Romulan ships too.
Yeah.
And Warbirds was.
And originally, the person leading that fleet was supposed to be Admiral Shut the Fuck Up, and when they realized how terrible of a character she was, they replaced her with Riker in the reshoots. And so Riker wasn't originally supposed to come to the rescue, but because the testing focus group didn't like Admiral Shut the Fuck Up, they replaced her with Riker, and that's why we get this great moment with Riker at the end that should have belonged to Picard. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good, guys. It's not a good show. Super bummed.
All the F-bombs. It's not for kids. So much murder.
Super bummed to have to say that. But I was trying to give it a chance. I was watching. And I was like, all right, come on. I'm trying to like find things that I like about it.
I mean, you guys know how optimistic I was about this show.
Yeah.
I kept with it far longer than Matt did. It's like, but about halfway through, I just gave up.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm done. This show is just,
Yeah.
it's too much.
There wasn't a single episode without a murder in it. And there was only one episode that didn't have an F-bomb in it.
So edgy.
It really honestly felt like the writers of the show were like, oh, we have to put this stuff in there because we can.
Yeah.
As opposed to having it make any actual sense. But the thing that I hate most about this show, and this is just something that sticks in my craw, is the use of money.
Here we go.
Here we go again.
Seriously. Well, like the whole thing about Star Trek, they've made it
they've conquered money.
canon for years, is like they've moved beyond money. But then everything in this season of Picard revolves around money. It's about paying people to do stuff. It's about paying for material possessions and things of that nature. There's an economy here at play, and you're just like, wait, this isn't supposed to be in this world. This doesn't exist.
Just because you can have everything you want in a Federation show doesn't mean you don't need to have stuff to pay people in a non-Federation place.
But that's the reason why the Federation is able to exist, is because the society itself has conquered the economic wealth system.
Yeah,
right?
like if Picard wanted a ship, he could have gotten a ship. Like I'm not talking about like a big ship. I'm talking about like one Rios' size, because like it'd be like buying a car, but like you don't have to pay for anything in the society. Yeah.
Well, I've never seen anything in Star Trek that says that.
Yeah, because if by that rationale, then
Scotty bought a boat.
Tom Paris
A boat?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a spaceship.
Well, I mean, like it's the equivalent of a spaceship.
I don't think it is.
I don't know. There were some pretty big boats. But I mean, in this society, you can get a spaceship.
Why didn't Tom Paris just go and grab a spaceship then and fly off instead of staying on that stupid like recreational colony after getting out of jail? You guys remember that? Like that's the whole setup for his characters. He went to like juvenile detention or whatever.
Well, it might be different for someone like him, but a formal admiral like Picard,
I think he would have his own yacht.
Yeah, you would think that he would have enough connections where he'd be like, I need a spaceship.
But he got fired.
But it doesn't matter if he got fired.
He resigned.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did. He resigned.
Or resigned. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and somehow screwed Rafi by doing so.
Yeah, somehow.
Ugh, Rafi. It's got to be my least favorite character in that whole thing. Like she does not belong there. The rest of them at least have a believable backstory.
Really.
Like the doctor, okay, I get it. The Romulan kid who has an attachment to Picard, okay, he saved their race, I get it.
You know what's funny? So Bruce Maddox, kind of the MacGuffin of the beginning of this series. So he goes to Space Vegas, Freehold, is that what it was? And makes a deal with a crime lord to get enough money to build this secret lab on Flower Planet. And then like he realizes that the Zhat Vash are trying to assassinate him. So he leaves the planet where the Zhat Vash don't know exists or where its location is, where he's completely safe, and goes on the run throughout the universe and goes back to the crime boss that he borrowed all the money from for safety, even though he had a planetary defense system of massive flowers that could have protected him, along with an army of synths that are
an army?
Are
I don't know. I didn't see an army. There was like 50 people.
I just saw like 45 flower children.
Yeah. But
I did. Okay, that was a.
Hey, they had weapons and they were able to fight back against Narek and stuff. But regardless,
one good thing is the outfits that all the synthetics were wearing was very much like old school, almost original trilogy Star Trek, where you go to this planet and all the freaking skimpy clad chicks are walking around.
But regardless,
like
why did Maddox have to leave Flower Planet and go back to the crime boss that he needed to borrow money from to build Flower Planet, even though he had the magical bullshit device that could create, literally manifest anything that you could think of?
Magical bullshit.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and like theory craft to try and even come up with an
nothing in
explanation.
the show makes sense. So, for instance, why did he send Soji and Daj to the Daystrom Institute and the Relic? Like, what was their actual mission there? And beyond that, why did the Romulans, who were trying to capture Soji and Daj, were they only involved in the Borg reclamation project as a way to lure them out so that they could then capture and then find out where the flower planet was?
Yes.
Why?
Because
show.
Get out of my head.
But they had a treaty. They had a treaty with the Federation.
Matt, you're thinking way too hard.
Yeah, dude.
None of this shit matters.
This is not going to go anywhere.
We don't know the answers, and neither do the people who made the show. So it does. It's insane.
Yeah, it's basic plot setup. Like none of the plotting in this show makes any sense at all.
I want to tell these people. Pull up my thing here. Akiva Goldsman, Michael Chabon, Kirsten Beyer, and Alex Kurtzman. Go get a new job. Go flip fucking burgers at McDonald's because it's the only thing you're going to be good at from now on. Seriously, fuck them. I'm just salted.
Salted. Boom. And he gets up and walks away.
He drops the mic and walks away.
Drops the mic and walks away.
That's as good a place as any.
That's what Star Trek. An old school Star Trek nerd just is done. It's over, man. I don't like. I can't defend it. I try to at least find something that I enjoy about it, but I'm like, there's little bits here and there. Like, I like Patrick Stewart. He's cool, but the show is just such a swing and a miss.
And it's surprising considering that Michael Chabon is, such a talented novelist.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, but if he had any influence in the show at all of his influence was terrible. It was really, really bad.
I don't know. Unless he just half-assed it for a paycheck. That's all I can think of.
Well, I think the whole thing is like he's not like respectful of Star Trek. Like he didn't care about the characters or the canon.
Didn't he say as much? Didn't he say something along those lines? Like, I'm going to piss off fans, but I don't care, or something like that. Like, why? What is this attitude coming from people?
I don't understand it.
I don't get it either.
I had to get a cookie.
I saw. I'm going to get one too. Are we done? This is 2 hours now. We can...